Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the price of Bitcoin is getting extremely close to a potential breakout from this symmetrical triangle pattern, while the price of ETH in the short term is running into some horizontal resistance, which I'll talk more about later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update on the US stock market. This right here is the Nasdaq 100 index on the daily time frame, and so far today, the stock market has opened up quite a lot higher compared to Friday's candle close. Although, at least as of right now, the Nasdaq 100 index is still finding resistance along this range of resistance, which was previous support. But when the price breaks below previous support, usually that becomes new resistance. And so this range of resistance is coming into play in between around 11,000 and 11.2k for the Nasdaq 100 index. But while the Nasdaq 100 index is still struggling around this range of resistance, we're technically seeing a bullish divergence playing out right now on the daily time frame, because we do have lower lows in the price action but higher lows in the RSI. And so once again, this is obviously known as a bullish divergence, and what it means is that we're due to see reduced bearish momentum, at least in the somewhat shorter term relative to the daily time frame, which usually means around 1 to 2 weeks when we're looking at the daily time frame. And so basically, despite the fact that the Nasdaq 100 index is still finding resistance at this range of resistance, we could still be due to see a bit of a pause in this downtrend based on this bullish divergence. And speaking of bullish divergences, if we're zooming out to the weekly time frame for the stock market, in fact, this chart right here shows the S&P 500 index, which is quite similar on the chart to the Nasdaq 100 index. And what we can see right here on the weekly time frame is a much larger bullish divergence, which has technically already formed, because obviously we already have lower lows in the price action but higher lows in the weekly RSI. So this is obviously a much bigger deal than just the daily time frame, because in case you didn't already know, the larger the time frame, the more significant the pattern or indicator. And so technically speaking, based on this large bullish divergence on the weekly time frame, this is actually pointing towards perhaps a little bit of a slowdown within the much larger bearish trend, as in we could be due to see a bit more of a pause in the bearish trend. And in case you're wondering, the most common outcomes for a bullish divergence are either choppy sideways price action or a slight bullish relief. So quite often we do not see a lot of bearish price action immediately after a bullish divergence, and also quite often we don't actually see explosive bullish price action straight back to the upside just based on a bullish divergence. And so once again, this is most commonly seen as more of a pause within the bearish trend, because this doesn't necessarily mean that the bearish trend is completely over. But anyway, with that being said, heading into the Bitcoin part of this video, this right here is the daily Bitcoin chart, and obviously right now the price of Bitcoin is still finding a lot of support along this range of support coming into play in between around 18,500 and 19,000. And as we can see here, it's not only the price action that's finding support at the moment, it's also the daily Bitcoin RSI, which is still holding onto this upwards trending line of support. And so once again, as I've been mentioning over and over in my recent videos on this channel, we do not begin another leg to the downside while the RSI is still holding above this upward trending line of support, because usually what we've seen, at least so far this year, is that we only play out the next massive leg to the downside in the price of Bitcoin if we start to see a confirmed break below the uptrend line of support in the daily Bitcoin RSI. And if you want to know more detail about all of that, then check out some of my recent videos here on this channel. But anyway, taking a quick look at the daily Bitcoin MACD, because right now, if you're looking at the histogram within the MACD indicator, it is still extremely flat, which means technically we still have very low momentum on the daily time frame. So technically speaking, this is still pointing towards perhaps a little bit more choppy sideways price action. But with that being said, there is a limit to how much choppy sideways price action we can actually see for the price of Bitcoin, because if we zoom out to the 3-day time frame, what we can see right now in both the price of Bitcoin and also the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is the fact that at the moment they are both approaching the end of these converging ranges, the apex points of these triangles. And so what this actually means is that very soon both the RSI and the price action will soon be forced to either break resistance or break support. And as soon as we start to see a significant signal like that, where the price action either confirms a break above significant resistance or below significant support, that would be a massive confirmation confirmation signal on the chart, which will basically set up the next significant move in the price of Bitcoin. And in case you're wondering, this line of resistance right now for this falling wedge pattern is sitting at around $20,000 per Bitcoin, and the line of support right now is sitting at around $18,000 per Bitcoin. And obviously, as soon as one of these significant levels on the chart actually breaks, I'll be sure to let you know about it in these videos and also in real time over on my Twitter. The link to my Twitter, by the way, is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. But anyway, heading back to the daily time frame and taking a look at the Bollinger Bands on the daily Bitcoin chart, because right now these Bollinger Bands are actually seeing the tightest squeeze since around 2020. And so this is actually a big deal for the price of Bitcoin, because typically when we see a massive squeeze in the Bollinger Bands like this, that means that we're just about to see an extremely volatile move in the price of Bitcoin. And usually we end up seeing the beginning of that volatile move roughly 1 to 2 weeks after the squeeze initially forms. And if you're measuring the amount of time between the beginning of the current squeeze formation to where we're sitting at right now, it's been almost exactly 2 weeks, which means we should be due to see that extremely volatile move pretty much any day now. And obviously this lines up pretty well with some of these other patterns that are due to see a breakout or break to the downside very soon. And also, if we zoom into the 8-hour Bitcoin chart, right now the price of Bitcoin is getting extremely close to breaking out from this symmetrical triangle pattern. And so once again, this is yet another pattern that is getting extremely close to seeing a breakout sometime soon, because the amount of distance that we have left between where we're sitting at right now to the apex of this triangle, that's only around 5 days away, which basically means that, at least based on this pattern, the price of Bitcoin would have to break either resistance or support within the next 5 days. And in case you're wondering, this descending line of resistance is currently sitting at around 19.6k, and this ascending line of support is sitting at around 19,000 exactly. And so when we see the price of Bitcoin eventually confirm a break above resistance or below this key level of support, that would basically confirm the next massive move in the price of Bitcoin. And obviously for the traders out there, it doesn't actually matter whether Bitcoin breaks resistance or support, because you can actually make money either direction if you simply know the right strategies. And now, unfortunately, I cannot give you personal financial advice, because obviously I don't know your personal financial situation, but just an example of a strategy that I actually commonly use for a potential breakout like this is to simply place conditional orders on either side of this pattern. And these conditional orders, once the price action crosses one of those conditional orders, that basically automatically opens a trade. So just for example, let's just say a conditional order is placed at just above $20,000 per Bitcoin, which automatically opens a long position. What that means is if the price of Bitcoin crosses above that conditional order, if it crosses above 20,000 in that example, then that would automatically open a long position to take advantage of a move to the upside. But just an example of the other scenario, obviously a conditional order placed below this line of support, let's just say somewhere around 18,500, if the price action crosses underneath that conditional order, so crosses underneath 18,500 in that example, then that conditional order could be set up to automatically enter a short position to take advantage of a volatile move back to the downside. And if you want to know how to set up those conditional orders, I actually have an entire tutorial video which shows how to do things like that, and I will leave a link to that Bybit tutorial video in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. Otherwise, stick around to the end of this video to find out more. And now, in terms of a technical price target for this pattern, if the price of Bitcoin confirms a break above resistance, then that would technically set up a price target up towards around 23,500. But if the price of Bitcoin confirms a break below that level of support, then that would technically set up a price target at just underneath $16,000. And while we're here on the 8-hour Bitcoin chart, just giving you one last update on that previous potential head and shoulders pattern, which never actually confirmed. We never confirmed a break below that neckline, which was sitting at around 19,000 approximately. And considering the fact that right now the price of Bitcoin is basically making a second right shoulder, this head and shoulders pattern is no longer even forming. But anyway, zooming into the 4-hour Bitcoin charts, because right now the price of Bitcoin is obviously experiencing a bounce from this short-term level of support, which was sitting at around 19.1k approximately, and the next short-term level of resistance based on these Fibonacci levels is sitting at around 19.7 to 19.8k approximately, and anything above 19.8k, then I would expect resistance closer towards around 20.3 19.3k. And as for support, once again, we still have that support close to 19.1 to 19,000. And then anything below 19,000, then I would expect some short-term support closer towards around 18.7k. And as of right now, if you're looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin price oscillators, they are showing a very small amount of bullish momentum because, for example, the histogram within the MACD indicator is slowly increasing in size to the upside. And also the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI is technically trending to the upside, which is more bullish than bearish. But as of right now, the Bitcoin RSI on the 4-hour time frame is getting closer towards overbought territories. But as of right now, it isn't there just yet. So that technically means we still have a little bit more room left to the upside. But just a reminder, as the RSI gets closer towards overbought territories, that basically means we're getting a little bit too overheated in the immediate short term, and we're due to see a bit of a short-term cool-off. And also, even though the 4-hour Bitcoin MACD is technically more bullish than bearish at the moment in the immediate short term, we're actually seeing very low bullish momentum compared to some of these previous waves in bullish momentum. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this right here is the daily Ethereum to US dollar chart, and right now the price of ETH is currently still holding onto this upward trending line of support because, once again, as I mentioned yesterday, even though we saw a daily candle close slightly below this line of support, considering the fact that it was only a few dollars below this line of support, that simply was not a decisive break to the downside. And obviously with the very next daily candle close, that immediately closed back above this line of support. So as of right now, this support is obviously still holding for the price of ETH. And in case you're wondering, this ascending line of support is still sitting at around 1280 to 1290 approximately. And if you're looking at the daily Ethereum RSI, the same thing can also be said, where the RSI almost broke below this ascending line of support. In fact, it briefly dipped below this ascending line of support, but with the very next daily candle close, it closed significantly back above this ascending line of support. So as of right now, this support line is still obviously holding for the daily Ethereum RSI. And now, if you're looking at the daily Ethereum MACD, as of right now, this is still showing very low bullish momentum because the histogram within the MACD indicator is still very much flat. But technically speaking, even though we're seeing low bullish momentum, this is still technically more bullish than bearish as of right now on the daily time frame, which means we're still in this pause, this short-term relief from the bearish trend. And something similar can be said about the 4-hour Ethereum to US dollar charts, because right now the price of ETH is still technically within this choppy sideways price range. Although in the imminent short term, if we're looking at the price oscillators, we're technically more bullish than bearish if we're talking about the immediate short term, as in the coming hours, maybe the coming day or so. But of course, there's still important levels of support and resistance to pay attention to for the price of ETH in the short term. One of these resistance levels is actually getting tested right now, and this level is currently sitting at around 1330 to 1340. But if the price of ETH can confirm a break above around 1340, then the next short-term level of resistance that I'll be watching is sitting at these local highs, which are coming into play at around 1370 to 1380. Anything above that, then I'll be looking closer towards around 1.4k, and anything above 1.4k, then the next resistance level that I'll be watching is sitting at around 1480. And as for some short-term support, if we do end up seeing a rejection from these resistance levels, first of all, the immediate level of support that I'll be watching right now is sitting at around 1280, and anything below that level, then I would expect support down towards around 1220. And as of right now, if you're looking at the 4-hour Ethereum price oscillators, right now they are looking extremely similar to the 4-hour Bitcoin price oscillators. And so what this means right now for the price of ETH is basically the same thing as what I talked about on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart earlier in the video. And if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, no matter if the price is going up, down, or chopping around sideways, then check out these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left of your screen is that tutorial video that I mentioned earlier, which shows you how to make money in an uptrend or a downtrend, and the video in the bottom left of your screen shows you how to make money in a choppy sideways price range. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.